So, tell me when you first met or heard of Quincy.
Well, Quincy and I met in the 50s in Paris. Um, he was a great musician. It was already considered a great musician. Um, but more important than that, at that time, he was pretty. Oh, God. He looked like heaven walking. He was just a wonderful looking chap and with a wonderful sense of humor. And that all that time ago, I was a dancer. So I was the principal dancer with Porgy and Bess. And I taught dance in Paris. And I sang a bit. I doubled in nightclubs. So, after I left the opera. We didn't become good friends until later back in the States. I don't know how it happened. It just happened. The way people fall in love, people fall in friendship, you know. And in fact,
I want you to give me a great description of Quincy Jones in the comments.
the friendship may be a love without sexuality, but lots of sensuality. So,
What do you think Quincy took from that rich sort of expatriate, in large measure, a lot of African American expatriates there? How do you think that broadened his scope? He was pretty young then.
well, he was always very young. He's young now. He's probably the youngest near 70-year-old that you will ever meet. But I think that Paris did for Quincy what it's done for a number of great writers. And I mean African American and American writers. So everybody from Ford Madox Ford and Hemingway and those, and of course Miss Stein, and James Baldwin and Richard Wright and me. What Paris afforded us was as seeing the world as one world, because Quincy would have met not only French, but a lot of Europeans. So the Swedes, for the first time, come into the picture, and Africans from Senegal who were living in Paris at the time with their drums and their music and their wonderful languages. So Paris afforded for Quincy a chance to see that human beings were more alike than we are unalike. That's what he did.
Wow, thank you. What about, let's just jump to Hollywood.
Yes.
Tell me very briefly about your experience. Quincy becomes a major film scorer. How does that happen?
How does that happen? That's a very good question. I don't know, other than he was a great musician when he left Seattle. When he left Seattle, he already was kicking it, with Mr. Ray Charles and Patty Boone and, all those and the others who left Seattle. I think that there is, again, it may have to do with Paris, but it also has to do with the natural makeup of a person.
Can you imagine being friends with someone that's on the road to being great? And I don't mean just regular great, I mean great to where the entire world know who that person is.
It is said, some philosophers say courage is the most important of all the virtues, because without courage you can't practice any other virtue consistently. Can't be consistently fair, or kind, or true, or honest, or generous. None of those things. You can be anything erratically, but to be it consistently, you have to have courage. I have a feeling that Quincy Jones is one of the most courageous persons, not musicians or men or black or American, but he is a great, courageous person. So when offered a chance, or when he heard, he was offered the chance, whether it was an external offering or an internal offering, whether he heard some music in a movie and said, I'd like to do that. When offered the chance by life, he stepped right out. Now that takes courage. You can't have been black in a white country and black male in a white male country and step out and risk your own reputation, risk your comfort, risk your sense of yourself, risk your dignity, unless you have amazing courage.
Tell me about a time where you risked your dignity.
I mean, nobody took him by the hand and said, okay, now here's what you do. You write this down and there were people who helped. And I thank them, and the world must thank them. And I know Quincy does. But I mean, truly to do it. Finally, it's only that brain, that ear, that pen, and that paper.
What do you think about his childhood, which I think he's been very open about in his book, and it's, I don't mean to generalize, but it's a horrific experience. How does that feed into that courage, or is there any connection there?
I don't know, having had one myself. I don't know. I think one of the things it does, it makes you confess to yourself that you can come through anything. You have to say that. I mean, a small person, I have so much sympathy for children. Good Lord. What they have to go through. If you happen to have all the things, that is whatever the external things are, it's almost impossible to grow up. Most people don't. My thesis is that most people simply get older. They find parking spaces, they honor their credit cards, they marry, they have the nerve to have children, but usually they cut off at about 14 or 15. It's so blame difficult. So to be courageous enough to have already gone through so much and to come through that and say, I'm a musician. I mean, that's who I am. You want to know who I am? Whew.
The best way to tell me who you are is by hitting that like button. Help me get this video to 1,000 likes.
I think this is what makes people love him so, and people adore Quincy Jones. His vulnerability, even after all that, the cruelties he's gone through, disappointments and pain, physical as well as psychological, he's still vulnerable. He still sees each day as, hey, kids, here we have a chance to do it now. And he's as tough as nails, tougher. So I think that's what people love. You feel he's tough enough. You can trust yourself around him. If he's your protection, you've got protection. But if you want somebody to weep with you, you got somebody.
Thank you. For Love of Ivy, just briefly, any wonderful stories? What's it like when he writes a song or working with him in that environment? Just again,
I don't even know how. I don't know what the steps were to working together, but we do very nicely. He has respect and love for me, and I love and respect him. So when he presents the music, then to write to somebody else's music, you shave off a word here and make a word curl up, and so that it will match, and all of that, which was new to me. But he was very patient with me. And we did have one song on the top 10. So that was good. And we're now working on that song. Just now. I spoke to him last week. So I'm trying to hear it. I'm trying to hear it lyrically so that he can then hear it musically.
Is that for Sammy Davis or for...
No.
Oh, okay.
It's another thing.
Why was Quincy the perfect person to produce Clinton's inaugural celebration? And what do you think Quincy's vision for that event was? And describe what it meant to you to be there as well.
Those are about 10 different things,
Let's start with, Quincy has real kinship with Bill Clinton.
Yes.
Why would Clinton reach to Quincy for such a symbolic moment where he's assuming the presidency? What did Quincy have to offer, and where did they connect in terms of... too hard to...
No, it's not. That last part is very simple. I mean, they connected man to man. I mean, human being to human being. That's their connection, and it's a profound one. Mr. Clinton would know that the enormity of an inaugural celebration was not beyond Quincy Jones's capability, a possibility, a probability. Quince and the musicians who wrote "We Are the World" showed us that their arms don't reach 180 degrees; they really reach 360 for Quincy Jones. So you could propose to him the idea of a child's birthday party, and he would have some ideas. Or you can propose to him the idea of a presidential inauguration, and he'll have some ideas. So, I mean, I don't want to make him sound larger than life, but if I had to write.
List some names in the comments that you feel of people that have the exact same talent, where you give them ideas and they are able to craft it in their mind and structure it in a way that gives you exactly what you want. Let me know in the comments.
A word for Quincy, I would say he is life. So nothing would frighten him. He'd have to pull all that he knows together. You see, that, and then he's not beyond asking people, encouragement and ideas. He's not a pompous chap. He really is humble, He's not modest, though. He has no modesty. And that's just as well, because modesty is a learned affectation. Modesty sometimes is a barrier between a person and a thing, persons and persons. Humility, though, comes from the inside. The inside out. Modesty is the outside in. So he's not modest, but he is humble. So he was the right person, of course, obviously.
Excuse me. Would it be possible to turn something down on the stove? It's starting to boil in here.
Oh, would you turn it?
Just remarkable. Quincy read a letter from you at a hip-hop summit that he convened because he cares about young rappers shooting each other.
Yes.
Speak to his concern about that and why at this point in his life that's really clearly very important to him.
Well, now, Quincy's concerned about everybody. Yes, young people killing themselves and each other, yes. old people, and what do they live? How are their evenings, their twilight evenings? He's concerned. Women and fair play for them. He's concerned. Children, of course he's concerned. Because the rappers use music, and since music is his language, then he would have an easier path into the rappers' community, not just their physical community, but their professional community. So it follows that he would then enter in that. Years ago, James Baldwin, who was my brother friend and mentor, he was turning in his grave now as I say that, but I can see it. He went out, he told me he was going out to California to try to help Eldridge Cleaver. I flipped. I said, that is the dumbest thing. I hate it, and so forth. Because Eldridge Cleaver had written such vulgarity about James Baldwin in his book, Soul on Ice. So Jimmy said, oh, you're concerned because you don't like what he wrote about me. I said, no, that's true. And not about your work, but about you. Yes, I'm concerned. He said, I'm doing it because it is right to do. He said, oftentimes the son kills the father. And it may be necessary symbolically, so the son can have his time in the sun, his place in the sun. But finally, he said, admit that I'm doing it because it is right to do. Well, Quincy Jones went to the rappers because it was right for him to do it. So I wrote that piece for him to read to them because it was right for me to do it. Very simple.
Great, thank you. Quincy's been involved in projects geared with issues in Africa for a long time.
True.
If you just start with what you thought roots meant to him or sparked in him, and then if you could just speak to how, again, in a broader sense, you talked about how he's interested in a lot of things, but clearly the people in Africa, his relationship with Nelson Mandela, that's very important to him.
Yes.
Tell us why and your perspective on that.
The South African situation was so dire, has been so dire, that African Americans in general, and some in particular, have focused on South Africa because of apartheid. So a number of people, Dudley Randall, the poet, Randall Robinson, Andrew Young, Quincy Jones, Robert Brown, a number of people have been keenly focused on South Africa. And it is of interest that the ANC, the African National Congress, and the Pan-African Congress stated from Nelson Mandela to Robert Sobukwe that Martin Luther King's, the movement, the bus boycott, inspired them in South Africa in the late 50s. And so the Sharpeville massacre came out of that. We have had an in tandem relationship because as we African Americans have moved forward toward freedom and fair play and equality and the end of discrimination, so other people have been moved. It is of interest. It was of interest for me to see when Marcos went down, the song that was sung in the Philippines is "We Shall Overcome." It is of interest to see in Poland as the people move to rid themselves of the colonialism of the Soviet Union, that people sang, "We shall overcome." It is no small matter, and it is fitting that a leading musician, a leading person, heart, and then talent and all that, would focus to see how he or she could be of service in South Africa and Southern Africa. So it seems right. It seems to me a very clear path.
Is there a particular thing that Quincy's done in his life, or in his political consciousness or social consciousness, that just stands out for you as the kind of perfect? There's no one emblem for Quincy, or he's not Lindbergh's flight or something, but is there something that speaks most strongly to you as?
Yes. Quincy knows where he came from. And he respects the people upon whose shoulders he stands. And that may seem on the face of it a very simple, it is a simple thing, like truly simple things. It's very profound. He has never, there's an African saying, which is only a fool points to his background with his left hand. You can't, it's very disrespectful to point at all, but if the left hand is not acceptable. That he continues to say thank you to those who went before is probably the salient point of his future, his work, his offerings, his contribution, because he always says, "Thanks, Basie. Thanks, Duke. Thanks, Sassy. Thanks, so-and-so. Thanks to those who went before." That liberates him in a wonderful way. And I hesitate to use the word posture because it seems like it will move. I don't mean that. His stance of gratitude is so wonderful. That's him. He stands as a man thankful to those who helped, to life, to God. I dare say that.
As I sit here and listen to her speak about Quincy Jones, it reminded me of something that my great-grandmother told me. And as I express it to you, I want you to tell me if you have ever heard this saying before. Big fish in a little pond. Big fish in a little pond. What I mean by that is, she said in her own words that Quincy was already a big name in his area. He could have chose to stay there and stayed a big fish in a small pond. Now, according to her, he left for another reason, but in him leaving, it allowed that big fish to become a small fish in a bigger pond. And therefore, He spread his fins or wings and became either more well known nationwide or worldwide, according to whomever it is I'm speaking of. The next great thing about that is it makes me wonder, when the time comes and we all perish, the people that's left behind, what are they going to say about us? She just said many great things about Quincy. Now, even though she's gone herself, but still, she said many great things. And it makes me wonder, what do you think people are going to say about you? What do you hope they say about you? Well, anyway, tell me your thoughts about that. Tell me your thoughts about this video. And as always, don't forget to like, share, watch more videos, and subscribe to the channel.